Oh, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and all who can hear the sound of my voice to this week's edition of the Private Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we discuss all things with our petty and ill-informed opinion. Joining me, my only decent co-host, apparently, because everybody else just leaves me, Kevin.
I think that's not decent is not the word. I think loyal is the word. And being from Northern Ireland and being a loyal man is a big deal. It's a big deal today because everybody's dying in Ireland and marching around today because it's the centenary of Northern Ireland. 100 years old this year. 1921 to 2000 and whatever today is. 1922 till now. It's 100 years.
100 years. 100 years of Northern Ireland. It's its series of.
Yeah. It's 100 years of Northern Ireland because we're really not really a country, but we sort of are and sort of may be and sort of not.
You're more of a country than Wales is.
Well, I think that's interesting because, to be honest with you, it's funny. Wales has a flag and Northern Ireland doesn't officially have a flag. We don't have a flag. It's we do have a flag. No, we used to have a flag at one point in time, which was that looked like the St. George's Cross with like the 6-pointed star on it and the crown on top. That's not our official flag anymore. Our official flag is the Union Jack.
Oh, who cares about flags? Alton Towers is a flag. Are they a country?
You just said to an Irishman, who cares about flags?
Well, yeah. I mean, like...
that is that...
I was talking about Wales more than anything.
Oh, no, but okay, all right. But I'm just saying that is the purpose of 400 years of violence.
Yeah.
Like flags.
But, like, just forget the flags.
Yeah.
As far as Wales is concerned.
I'm the same way. I forget about flags anymore. I just don't care. I really, really just don't care. And I'll get in trouble because I said I just don't care. But Wales,
especially about the Welsh flag.
Well, yeah, but
I think it's cute. I think it's adorable the way that they fly around and go, "We're a real country," and I'm like, "Sure you are. Sure you are."
Okay,
you're like Cornwall or County Durham. You think you're a separate country, but you're English. You're British,
right? But do you want to hear? I mean, this is kind of an interesting story, and I can't remember the guy's name, but there was supposed to be a Welsh prince, and somebody can Google it, find out. Prince Maddox, that's what his name was, Maddox or Maddox or something like that. He was a Welsh prince, and he supposedly was one of the first people to find settle in New Orleans or something back in the 10th century before the Vikings showed up or something like that. Prince Maddox was supposed to have shown up there. And then, so, I mean, because there's weird archaeology somewhere, on the Mississippi River, and they say, well, none of the native folks there would have built this. So that's their idea, is that this Welsh guy came to America and built the stuff. No, that's not the weird part about the flag, but this is, okay? So then people started to come up with the idea that Prince Maddox, because he made more than one trip, actually went to Mexico as well. So because that's all in the Gulf of Mexico, he got blown off course and then actually went to Mexico, and he had the dragon flag on his ship. And so because of the fact that the man came out of the East, the white man, who was supposed to be the person who, the gods of the Aztec people, and he had this dragon flag. That is where Quetzalcoatl comes from, the Welsh flag. Now that's probably a bullshit story, but that is a story.
That is a bullshit story. I mean, Quetzalcoatl is a lightning god, and dragons very much affiliated with fire.
Well, yeah, but isn't it like a sort of a, like if you look at some of the ways that they're portrayed with the, like the sort of that dragony face with the thing around it, and it, like it's sort of, I mean, I'm not saying it, you know what I mean? People believe that the Anunnaki it came to Samaria, and that's when we're slave people made from that. I mean, I'm not saying it's all true. I'm just saying that's just a wee bit of interesting thing that I read somewhere, and I
Yeah.
thought I would repeat it because this is a kind of a place where I repeat weird stories that people have written down.
This is not the place for that. This is a place for petty and ill-informed opinions.
Well, I think that is a petty. It's not my petty and ill-informed thing, but it definitely is for somebody who was trying to sell a book, and they were saying, "How much? I mean, can we throw some more Welsh stuff in this book so I can say strange and weird facts that may be about Wales?" And then all you have to say is, "Oh, well, that's a story. There's a story." It's like Tristan and Isolde or whatever. Isolde, one being the Welsh Welsh person, the other being the Irish person, and all that crap, which is totally real and happened.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, and that Arthur was built. Arthur lived at Tintagel, and which is in Wales, and then Merlin lived down on the beach. He was a beachcomber down there, and he had that little cave, Merlin's Cave. It's even called Merlin's Cave, so it's got to be real.
Totes, obviously real. I've heard stories as well, so I can confirm. Gabby's throwing shade at us from the chat.
Oh, for what? Because we haven't.
Apparently, because we've got opinions. Because I can't get women, and you're a creepy old guy. Thanks, Gabby. We love you as always. Thank you.
Well, okay. I am creepy old guy.
And I can't get girls, so she's not wrong.
I mean, it's there's nothing. I'm sure that if Gabby owned up to the things that she can't do, that would be interesting. But I mean, that's not what we're all about. We're not all about trying to pick on other people.
What happened to Quetzalcoatl? I don't know. He died, didn't he? Like Aztecs went away, so no one believed him anymore.
Well, he's still around if you go to like a Mexican restaurant. They're still in there. Sometimes you can find them.
I just feel like that's the proper name for a god, though. Quetzalcoatl.
Well, I love the fact that it is very, very hard to say it. If you were to look at it, you wouldn't be able to say it. I like things with X's in it. Like when I was teaching, I had in the fourth grade, I had a Native American child that I taught named Xochitl, and it started with an X, and it was a very, very sort of native way of doing it. But you have to basically learn how some of the different languages go. But yeah. So that was an interesting thing. I mean, it's like the shoot seat has X's in it, and you have to figure it out. It's sort of like in Ireland, like you could like trying to spell Siobhan or anything like that.
Yeah, Siobhan is Sibohan.
Yes, exactly. And so people get really sort of pissed, and they don't want to do it, and they're like, well, that's it. Because why should I learn anything else about somebody else's culture? So that's kind of where we are. I mean, that's kind of way. I mean, do you think, Richard, that we will have any kind of a separate culture at one point in time, or are we just going to have sort of this sort of universal culture designed by people who make video games? because that's the way I see it, right?
Not video games, reality TV.
You think so? You think that's going to be the driving force?
Yeah, I do. I feel like we're pushing towards that now because, like, you can find pretty much everybody's culture's entertainment in any country these days. I mean, anime is everywhere, and that was a Japanese thing. Apparently, Japanese people are really obsessed with Western culture, which I find intriguing. Which means, like, there's some fat neckbeard dude with a bunch of Japanese swords in his house in America, and in Japan, there's some fat Asian dude with a bunch of like cowboy hats and six shooters on his wall. So,
well, yeah. But I think that's interesting that that they always have sort of been the West. That whenever you were watching that program, the Man in the High Castle, the Philip K. Dick book, that was one of the things that they were interested in is the culture of six shooters and that kind of stuff. The West. I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, but it is, as you say, whenever you look at it, the movie The Magnificent Seven was based on the Seven Samurai movie, so there's a lot of there is a lot of cross cultural things that have to do with it. Like the whole idea of these seven different people crossing or roaming the land and just doing taking care of things, that they're not tied to anything. You know what I mean? That you at one point in America you could sort of go from town to town and make your living. I don't know if that's actually true, and as much as they make it sound, but I mean it's like the whole idea of at high noon we're going to have like a shootout in the town, which I think that there's only like one or two documented cases of like a shootout in the they meet at in the street at high noon and just actually do the duel that way. Normally it was just like
I've never understood that at all. Why high noon? Because it must be so bloody hot, especially in all that leather and the hat and everything.
Yeah.
You just go and stand out in direct sunshine to shoot someone. It just seems.
I think that
why
the reason they do that is because then the sun is not in anyone's eyes, since it's coming directly down at noon. So the sun would be in the highest point of the day. So it's coming directly down. The sun is not directly in anybody's eyes, or if it is, it's in the same amount of everybody's eyes. So that's that thing. And then then you could go. And to be honest with you, at noon, it's not the hottest part of the day in the desert. It gets freaking miserable at about 3 to 5. It is freaking horrid. And for some reason, that's the hottest part of the day. I mean, as far as I've been out in the desert, it sucks balls. And you're right. Everything on you gets drenched and it's terrible.
But it's getting to that time of year over here where it's humid because we get all the May rain and then the summer heat comes and it's like a few weeks it's so humid.
Yeah.
The humidity is like the worst.
Yeah, well, at least
in the dry heat any day of the week.
Yeah, well, at least you could say that in the desert that it's dry. But at the same time, when you get off the plane in Arizona to go see your friends and it's 110 degrees outside, that is a shock to the system. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just miserable. And then you kind of wonder, you kind of go to yourself, how does anybody go outside? How does anybody go outside in this place? And that's it's really interesting. But I love the Southwest because of the fact that there's all kinds of native cultural spots, and you can see all the different pictographs and stuff like that. I loved it. A lot of fun. But yeah. So, but it's starting to get that time of the year now. But I suppose that what'll happen is that the Snowbirds from Arizona will be making their way back up here because they won't want to live in that. Wouldn't it be nice to have two houses like that, Richard?
Snowbirds.
Snowbirds, yeah.
Call them swallows over here, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, like people who, like some people would like. Well, I think mostly people when they were moving to Spain, they lived in Spain the whole year.
They come over for the summer because it gets too hot in Spain.
They come back.
So they come to England for the summer, and they go to Spain for the winter. That's
right.
what they call swallows.
Oh, is that what they do? Well, speaking of swallows and people who came back for the summer, Sam Mitchell came back.
Yeah.
And
yeah, for weeks and weeks now.
Well, I understand that Sam Mitchell's be back, but she hasn't really been a major player yet. You know what I mean? Other than screwing it up with the guy who was the geezer from the other place, who's supposedly really short and has got the big glasses. Are they trying to make that guy look like a sort of a funny gangster? Like the funny gangster who I don't know if I like that. You know what I mean? Or so he's not the hard man. The guys with him is the hard man. But I always wonder how do the guys that are like geeky with the big glasses, how do they become like the boss of the gang? You know what I mean?
They're bullied a lot because they look like nerds and they internalize all the rage and then externalize it in short, violent blasts.
So you think that's so he would have gotten to the top of it just by being a freaking mad nutter who probably doesn't stop?
No, intelligent psychopath. Yeah, makes all the right moves, but brutally tortures somebody when they have to.
Right. So I mean, it is kind of a funny thing. So they're wanting to buy rubies. Down at the other place, the Albert. Your man from Ireland did the dirty on one of the people that was married, and that's going to be a story.
Yeah, that's something we could have talked about if we were going to discuss the Johnny Depp thing, because it would tie into the topic.
Yeah, well, we could sort of talk about it for a minute.
I mean, they're going with the whole. Well, basically, Ben wanted to have sex, didn't want to have sex, and the other guy wanted to have sex. So they had sex. You know what I mean? Without.
Yeah. Here's the thing about it. And the Irish guy played it the way that I think most people would, right? So the Irish guy is sitting around with one of the people. He goes down there looking for the Irish guy because he's got the horn on and he's pissed off at his husband, and so he goes down there, to try to do it. Now, as a guy who's owned a bar, I've seen this a lot. You know what I mean? Where people think that they're going to go down there and then it goes too far. So he's drunk off his ass, says, "Let's go upstairs." And so that's it. So the Irish guy thinks, okay, I've got everything. Check. I've got my list of things that I need to seal the deal on this. They go upstairs and your man changes his mind, right? Now, the minute he says no, it's not okay. Even though the Irish man says to him, right, so you're you want to have it a wee bit rough or whatever, and so that was the thing. But he did say no, I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think it was interesting to me that he's also the guy who was, in my opinion, raped, even though now he's claiming that the rape victim is claiming that he wasn't raped. But even in the picture of the guy who was raped, he was the Walford, the guy that's going around beating up all these guys who's beating up gay men. So he didn't put up any kind of a fight or resist it physically in a way, which I find was odd. But anyway, he did say no, so that would be it. But again, this is one of those things where it does come down to a matter of opinion and how do you, and in a case like that one, which is one of those things where you're talking about, again, you're talking about Johnny Depp, and I'm not saying that anybody said that one of them raped the other one or whatever. So I want to make that clear. But in the case of abuse or abusing somebody, some of that is in a gray area in ideas of the law, or is a and so that's the case of who is a I think in a case like that, you can both perceive yourself to be a victim. You see what I'm saying? And that's one of those things where again, if if Johnny Depp, like I said, if Johnny Depp is an alcoholic, that's a tough one, brother. I mean, he's admitted he's a problem with alcohol. So at a certain point in time, you have to say, well, have I ever met somebody that hadn't had a problem with alcohol that didn't at some point in time abuse his relationship with their partner? Probably not. You know what I mean? And then she's saying, well, this is this. So to be honest with you, I think it was ill-advised that they even put it on TV, but then everybody's talking about him. So maybe that's why they wanted to do it. Maybe it's a stunt. Maybe it's a stunt because from that standpoint, I didn't know who Amber Heard was before. I do know now, obviously. And Johnny Depp was getting old, but this is the thing. I mean, Johnny Depp wasn't getting hired because he's old and fat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if Gabby thinks I'm old and weird, Johnny Depp. I'm just going to say that he's older than me and probably weirder than me. And so from that standpoint, you look at it from that standpoint and you say, well, life goes on. But I mean, I can't imagine that somebody's not going to want to make a film out of this. You know what I mean? Are they going to play themselves? You think they would do that, Richard? You think that they would actually, if somebody came to them and said, "Okay, I want to make the Amber Heard Johnny Depp relationship movie, but you've got to play yourself," do you think they would do it?
Absolutely. It's pretty much the only hope either one of them has got of getting work again. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying, that's a...
Right. I mean, then that's the thing because of the fact that, it's like, if Johnny Depp hasn't set him up, I mean, how long has he been a star? He's been a star since 21 Jump Street, right?
Yeah.
He's been out with every girl on the face of the planet, and so he's had it all, done it all. Probably had a lot of money, been in these the Caribbean movies. If he hasn't set himself up where he doesn't need to work, then he's I don't know. But I mean, he did. It was interesting. He did own, or he was one of the owners of the Viper Room. Whenever Leon, who's the one that died? Rimmer Phoenix OD.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, you never know how much money gets dumped into that kind of shite and everything else, where they want to own all these different things and everything else, and how much money they've lost and how much they blow and everything. Maybe he's skint. You know what I mean? Maybe he doesn't have two dimes to rub together. We don't know. And it's always interesting to me that you think, oh, this guy must be living in a mansion or whatever, and you show up and it's some little shithole or something, and that's it.
That's it. Who knows? I mean, he could have blown through all his cash.
Right. And I thought, but isn't he live? Does he live in America? Does he live? I thought he was live. I thought he lived in France or something. You know.
Probably. I mean,
Yeah.
that's Australia.
Is it Australia?
Yeah, didn't he get in trouble because they took their dogs over there without going through quarantine a few years ago?
Oh, probably.
And he did like the most disingenuous apology video ever.
Yeah. Well, but you see, that's kind of the thing. And again, being in trouble is kind of the point. Like, like I said, whenever I was growing up, I grew up in the village where Eddie Irvine was a person. He's a famous Formula One guy. He talks on a lot of different programs. He's in that sort of Formula One show on Netflix or whatever as a commentator. And then, so I grew up with him, and I used to work for, some of his family and everything. That's fine. I'm not going to talk about it. But one of the things is that he had gotten in trouble in London because he was driving a scooter around, without a license, or it was an expired thing or whatever. And then he didn't purposely, in my opinion, I'm not sure, I can't speak to this, but then he didn't pay it or whatever. He got a ticket and he didn't pay it or whatever. And he didn't go to court. So then he had a warrant out for his arrest or something. And that was like a big deal. And this guy's half a billionaire at least, you know what I mean? If not more. He's got a ton of money. And he could have paid somebody to take care of it. If he would have paid me, I would have taken care of it. But it's not the point. The point of the matter is that was in the newspaper then. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that was news.
So some of it is news, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And then they, like, for example, he goes out with Pamela Anderson and all these different things. So, it's who's a really nice lady, by the way. I will say. she's
not
nice.
Just a pair of boobs.
No. She's from Vancouver, Canada. And a lot of people don't know that. She's actually from Sasquatch Island. I never asked her if she saw a Sasquatch, though. But she is a nice lady. And but
is that really what you do if you got the chance to talk to Pamela Anderson? Is ask
I did talk to her for a while. She's a nice lady. She's a nice lady. You just part of the thing whenever you're talking to folks like that is to be normal. You know what I mean? Because if you're in a situation where you're around the people, they don't want you to act like a freak. You know what I mean? And it is weird. I'm very, very good friends with Eddie's dad and everything like that. So, whenever I was a kid, Eddie used to take me when he was first driving his car, and he was driving in Japan. He was in the circuits in Japan and everything like that. He would come back, and he owned a car dealership, and he would take me for rides and things, around the block and things like that. So, I mean, like, he's driven me in the car down a road in Northern Ireland at 150 miles an hour, and it's scary as fuck. You know what I mean? But it's that's an experience. But yeah. So when you go back there, you're talking about his sister and his grandfather and stuff like that, and Eddie's father was the pallbearer at my granny's funeral and my uncle's funeral, and he was directly opposite me, carrying the casket both times. So that's sort of the way it is. I mean, I don't know, but I don't make a big, it's like, what? There's no point in making a big deal out of it. I don't have two pots to piss in,
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes, Anyway, so what I'm saying is there's no such thing as bad press in a certain way. You know what I mean? And a certain
Amber Heard just lost her movie deal, so kind of yes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, with do you think that so was she supposed to be in that Disney movie? or is it Marvel or something?
Marvel, no, DC.
Oh, it was Aquaman or something.
Yeah, the less lucrative of the superhero franchises. It just annoys the shit out of me because fucking DC is so much better, and they just shit it the bed
with the films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the thing about it is so is that the one with the guy from Game of Thrones in it, Jason Momoa or whatever?
Jason Momoa, yeah.
Well, no, I'm sorry, I don't know. It starts with an M, doesn't it? I don't know.
Momoa, yeah.
Yeah. Boy, he's built like a shit house, isn't he? How would
you like? Compounds the insult by being such a likable dude.
Well, but I mean, but you know how much work that is. I mean, you know what I mean? It would be like, okay, I'm not going to get any work unless I'm ripped like that. And you would have to imagine that guy just trying to maintain that physique is an all day job. And then you got to go acting on top of it. You know what I mean? Yep. I mean, how would you like that? I mean, you know, like I have a lot of respect for people like that. You know, whenever you're looking at that, you know, that kind of a thing where basically, yeah, your body is your thing. I mean, you know, like whenever you are around people who can't eat, you know, can you? I mean, you know, because like me, I'm 50, right? So, like I've packed on the pounds because I just like doing things. I slowed down. I haven't moved around so much. Whenever I was thinner, whenever I was younger, I was thinner and more muscular and stuff. And now I've just turned into a doughboy. You know what I mean? But there are people that are my age that are rich and famous and everything like that. And there are, you know, I can't imagine that in the whole scheme of things, they really enjoy it, but they must.
Well, maybe they do. Maybe it's a thing. I mean, I knew someone like that who wanted to just be as muscly as possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I mean, like you might do it because you say to yourself, well, I want to be. I mean, you know, like sometimes around the coasts of Britain, there's rowing contests and they do like sort of 2-man rowing and stuff like that on the sea and everything like that. I think they do that down in Cornwall. You know, like they have it's like a recreation of the smugglers' boats when they used to, you know, have rowing teams that did it. But, you know, like if you decided that you wanted to do that and that was what you wanted to focus on and you could have the time to do that, which again, most people don't have the time, you know, to do that because they have to work. You know, you have to work 8 hours a day and then you're going to like put 3-4 more hours into it. That's your existence. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, if you were doing that and then you did it, like I said, I have a lot of respect for people like that. Just a lot of respect. But would you? I mean, like whenever I was thin and muscular, it was because I had a job where that was part of the work, was doing work that would help me assist being thin and muscular. So that I mean that was it. You know, so it wasn't like extra on top of it. You know, it was
pretty good arm muscles going on at the moment because of my rowing. But it's not like something I've devoted my life to or anything.
How's your stomach? Did you use a lot of stomach muscles on that, or is it mostly your like? For me, whenever I used to use a rowing machine, I would develop quite a big bicep and tricep and around the shoulder muscle, but my stomach would hurt and my lower back would kill, so I probably wasn't doing it right. But how did that? So does your stomach sort of is your back strong enough to support it?
Yeah, it was pretty bad the first few times I did it, and my arse was killing me as well because, you know, sitting down on them hard chairs. But, you know, it's fine these days. My stomach's gotten a bit flatter. I'm not as fat as I used to be, and my arm muscles have developed. Yeah. My leg muscles too. So, you know, it's good stuff. Definitely. I do have a rowing machine as well that I use. I rather enjoy it.
Right. So you are doing it. You are doing it on your own. You are assisting yourself. So that's good.
You
Well, I'm glad you haven't decided that you've just gone downhill at this point in time. I'm just gonna, turn 60 and just be roly poly oly. You just come into the pub and you'll see me there. When the minute it opens up, I'll be standing outside with my flat cap on, and then I'll sit in the corner on that stool on the stool. I think I'm gonna like get my own like celebratory stool that only I can sit on, because I'm gonna be like, oh, Kevin's been sitting there for 25 years. You know what I mean?
a picture and everything next to
Well,
it.
only in Ireland. I mean, like in Ireland, there's, let's face it, there is a big thing where they're saying that a lot of the small pubs are closing down, and and that they said that in Britain, a lot of the smaller sort of local village pubs are closing down or being sucked up by other things or changing, and the local landlord and everything like that are gone away. But there are certain places where you can still walk into it, and it's like you get down and you sit you look like you're going to start sitting in a chair, and they'll say, no, that's not, you're must be not from around here, and you say, no, I'm not, and then they say, well, it's Big Jim's chair. You know what I mean?
You don't want to steal Big Jim's chair.
Well, you don't sit in Big Jim, and it's just a matter of respect. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like he's going to come in and, I mean, like, you never know. Well, let's put it this way: you don't know in Northern Ireland. You might be in the knee breaker's arms, and they're actually going to like hit you over the head with something, toss you out. But most likely it's just some old guy who likes to sit there, and he's been sitting there for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He gets his pint and goes home. Speaking of which, how much is a pint going for now?
Bloody ridiculous, like £6.
Are you joking?
Nah. Cost of living has gone up so much.
Yeah, no, I've even heard that. I mean, everybody in America is bitching because every price of petrol or gas is like, like almost $6 a gallon or something like that. Whereas at any time in the history of Britain, if you could have said, I'm having $6 a gallon, somebody would cream all over you and bite your hand off to get it for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think the last time I was there, it was like $15 a gallon or something. I worked it out, something like that. And yeah, so it does make it expensive when you're driving around your big Audi. You know what I mean? And they wonder why everybody in Britain drives like a Renault Clio or Ford Fiesta or something. And they're saying, well, how big is the engine? Oh, it's a 1 liter. It's a 1 liter engine. You know what I mean? Like the only thing you can buy in America that's 1 liter here is a Diet Coke or Sprite.
Yeah, not even kidding.
Well, what else is going on in your life lately?
In my life, nothing much.
Yeah.
I lead a very boring existence.
Just,
got into my rowing, bird watching.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bojo showed up in Northern Ireland and said, as long as you don't take anything I said 2 years ago seriously or believe that it was true, we're all going to be fine. And that's,
I mean, that's accurate. That's accurate.
Don't hold me to anything that we've said before. And sort of America's going that same way. So, here we are. Maybe we, if we regulate trains, that may stop gun violence in schools in Texas.
Do you want to talk about this?
Let's try it. No, I think it's I'm just going to say it's a tragedy. I'm tired of it. As a person who used to be a teacher, I don't understand it. I think it's a cop-out to say to anybody, if you're a politician and you expect a teacher to have a gun in a classroom and protect 30 weak kids from a madman with an assault rifle and body armor, think again, my friend, because like I said,
you're not allowed to call them assault rifles.
Wow. Okay, listen. I will say this, right? When I was in the British Army, an SLR, a self-loading rifle, is not a fully automatic weapon, right?
Yeah.
So if you look back to the old days of battle rifles in Northern Ireland, right? So you the big long one, the big long one that you used to see everybody had, same one that they took to the Falkland Islands and shot people with there. It's a large 7.62 by 51 inch bullet. So it's a freaking massive bullet that will rip your arm off if you get hit by it. And so that was not a fully automatic thing. It was a semi-automatic rifle with a 20 round magazine in it. That's what that was. Okay. So technically available for sale at the Walmart.
Yeah.
So that's not an assault rifle. It was a military weapon. That's not an assault rifle. So I really don't give a fuck what anybody says, to be honest with you. That's fine. You call it whatever you want to call it. But anyway, that's what that was. And so anyway, a semi, and to be honest with you, I would almost prefer that somebody have a fully automatic one if I was going to go against somebody. And I'll tell you why. Because there's muzzle travel on an assault weapon. So you put it on automatic, it's going to start traveling up, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. So it becomes less accurate whenever you start shooting things on fully automatic. That's especially true of an AK-47, but also true on an AR-15. So to be honest with you, because it's a semi-automatic with a sight on it, it's actually probably more accurate than if it was a true assault rifle. But anyway, never mind. So now these guys are wearing like body armor. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it is one of those things where, and then people are saying, well, these cops that didn't go into the school and everything like that, they were petrified, man. You know what I mean? They're petrified that they're going to get killed. And can you, and you know what? It's like from that standpoint is, can you blame them? Can you blame them for the fact that they're not, okay, they might have a SWAT badge on their uniform or whatever, but let's be real, dude. They do that part-time. They're not really trained. They don't know what they're doing. Somebody's got to tell them what to do, and you go into there, and therefore you're doing it, and they're trained for a certain thing, and they're not all there at the same time, and it's not all the same buddies that it was. They don't have a plan, and somebody's telling them, no, don't do this, don't do that, and that's it. It's not the cops' fault either. I don't blame the teacher. I don't blame the cops, but I do blame everybody else who was above them that lied about it.
Yeah, it came out.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, why didn't the teachers do anything? It's not the fucking teacher's job.
Right. Well, I mean, and what I will say this is, and I can guarantee that if teachers had guns, there would be more school shootings because somebody would grab a gun from a teacher and shoot the teacher. Yeah, because it's not like what you think it is. It's just not. And here's the thing, right? Teachers make probably $2 more an hour than the guy who's frying burgers at the Burger King right now. We're not trusted to pick what we can teach our kids because apparently we're communist sympathizers who, indoctrinate kids. So when it's okay to slate us off because we don't know shit, that's okay. But the same people want to arm us. So Monday, we're indoctrinating kids into the Communist Manifesto. Tuesday, we should be fighting off, people from the course. So basically, fuck off. You're an idiot. Why don't politicians go down to schools and protect us?
Yeah. Why aren't they there with their guns?
And why is it that whenever somebody attacks a Capitol building on July 6th, they all shit themselves and run out of there faster than Jack? I haven't, the funny thing about it is I didn't see anybody locking themselves in a room fucking and attacking gunman or anybody like that. Were they? They were out of there in a shot. So they expect the average American to do what they won't do. So as far as I'm concerned, they can all fuck off. And it's not, and you know what? And anybody at a lower level that's a policeman or whatever, it's not their fault. We have shitty leadership in this country, and they need to fucking pull their shit together and act like this is a fucking country. Enough said about that. And I honestly, and if we do get to a point where somebody actually hears this and they are there, because anymore, it's not I guess not that rare that somebody could hear this that's family member has been killed by somebody. Like I said, I know students. I've had students that have been killed in school shootings. I do personally. I've had students killed in school shootings. So the way I look at it is, that we could be dealing with somebody who's listening to this, dying now in the future, whose friend or kid or something died in it. I mean, it's a tragedy, and I feel for you. My heart burns for you. It aches. You know what I mean? And I just there's got to be something to do, and I don't believe that there's this idea that there's nothing to do. I don't believe it. So we need to have sense. We need to have sense. Okay. Now, what, Richard? Did you want to say anything about it?
Yeah, school shootings, man. Why? What possesses someone to shoot a fucking school? When I was a kid, we had gun blames.
Yeah.
Obviously, and that was some fucking idiot, and that was the worst thing I can remember when I was at. Well, obviously the troubles were just ending, but
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about it is that it's not. I don't think that people think about it in the standard of what it is.
Yeah.
These kids are never going to be the same. They're never going to be the same. And as much as we want to think about it, oh, well, that's it. We'll talk to them for a couple of years. They're going to lead a lifetime of probably medicine therapy. They're going to be probably more aggressive. On average, statistically speaking, they're going to be more criminalized, alcoholics, drug users, and everything else. And for what? Yeah.
What? What was the point? What did it accomplish?
Yeah, right. And so that's it. You're just making a generation of criminals down the road. And that's what it is. Because, as far as they're concerned, nobody will understand them. You know what I mean? Nobody will understand what they're going through. And, it's like in a way, every time something like that happens, because I've been through some shit, I'm just going to say that I've been through some shit. And every time something happy happens sometimes, and then you look at it or something like this happens, like whenever these kids got killed. And, and I was thinking of something that was funny today. I got survivor's guilt from whenever I was a child. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, okay, well, I'm having a good time thinking about this. And, that person's dead. And my friends are dead. And that's the way that is. And why is it that I'm alive? Why is it that they didn't die? Am I doing a good enough job to go on? Did I do it? I mean, is the purpose of my life there? mean, most people don't have to worry about that. They say, well, I've had a job, I've had a good life or whatever, but I'm not comparing. Yeah. So that's what you're doing to people. That's what these people, deal with daily, and it's sad. And it's sad because, we do this to soldiers. We do this to policemen. We do this to now children. I mean, it's.
I fully agree. I don't see the point in doing it in a school. What's it going to accomplish? What's it going to change? It's reality TV again. You're just looking for 5 minutes of fame.
Right.
That's the only conceivable reason to do it, and that is so pathetic. That these people think the only way they can be famous is to fucking shoot a bunch of kids.
Yeah. And you do get to a point where you just wonder, okay, what is it that motivates the guy to do that? I mean, so he shoots his. I mean, I'm going to be graphic, and if this is too much for you, I'm just going to let you know. I'm going to be graphic for a second. But so he shoots his grandmother in the face, right? He obviously believes in headshots. He's probably watching sort of Call of Duty, headshot, whatever. He's obviously also shooting these kids in the face, right? Yeah. Now, the average fourth grader weighs maybe 60, 70 pounds tops. And he's shooting them in the face at close range. That's why they couldn't identify him, because he blew their heads off. They literally, their heads would have exploded with a high velocity round that is designed to tumble, which is what a 223 round is supposed to do. It has a what's called a keyhole effect. In other words, it goes in, tumbles around inside your body, and comes out. I mean, it could enter into your leg and come out of your armpit. And so I'm sure there might have been 19 bodies in there and sort of 45 body parts in there, and that's what you were cleaning up, was body parts at that much time, because he would have blown off heads, arms, leg. I think that you should show it to people. I honestly think that at a certain point in time they should show that to the people, just so it's not like, oh well, it's dead. There's dead bodies in here. No. It probably looked like a butcher shop, an abattoir. You know what I mean? And why don't they show that to people? Why don't they show it to people? Because I can guarantee you, if they showed it to people, we would be like, okay, yeah, you got to wait 5 days to get a fucking gun. You know what I mean? It's like, well, let's have everybody sign. Let's have everybody take a test. I'm not saying people shouldn't have guns. Believe me. I was talking to Richter today. He says, well, yeah, but the problem is that I said, no, Richter, I've got assault weapons in my house. Yeah, I love them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people are trying to turn this into something like a gun control.
No, I'm just saying, have everybody that should have, I'm saying this, everybody that has, should have a way to get a gun. Now, if we're a militia, you don't let everybody into a militia, right? Back in the old days, whenever Massachusetts had a militia, they didn't let Crazy Jim into the militia. You know what I mean? Oh, look at that's Crazy Jim. There he is. They didn't let him into the militia. You know what I mean? No. You had to have some sort of, because you were supposed to have discipline training. You were supposed to be able to take orders. So you had to go and train with a militia group, and then
the whole point of being a militia is an informal army,
Is exactly not I'm Rambo, the army of one. You know what I mean?
Not I've got a small dick, so I need this really big weapon.
But okay,
I'm sorry, I don't see why people need automatic rifles outside of the military. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand people's paranoia. I understand that you say, okay, and I will say this. I've lived up in the mountains by myself for a long time, and I was really, really glad that I had an automatic weapon with a large magazine capacity.
Yeah.
In case some freaking bear came or something big came or whatever. If it was a person that probably wanted to storm the cabin and kill me and take my stuff, they probably would have done it, but it made me feel better. So that's fine. That's fine. If you're on a ranch or whatever, I mean, it's almost different to think about things in the West. West of the Mississippi is totally different from east of the Mississippi. You know what I mean? I mean, do people in New York need an AR-15 if you're in downtown Manhattan? Yeah. Probably not. But if you're on a range or something, in Wyoming, and you're the only guy around for a long, long time, yeah, I mean, you kind of need to take care of yourself. And that's the thing. It's a population density issue in a lot of ways. But anyway, I'm just saying is let somebody have training. Let them pass a practical, a knowledge test, a practical test, and then you can get your gun. You know what I mean? And that's it. Most people don't know that whenever you buy a gun at a gun store and okay, I have a picture of what it says here. I've only ever bought a gun at a gun store, so I don't know. I know you can just walk down the street in some states and say, "Hey, that's a nice looking gun. Will you take $600 for it?" Yep, here you go. Here's your $600. That's it, complete. That is a legal sale in Nevada, Idaho, anything like that. In Washington State, you'd have to go and say, okay, well, no, I need to, take it down to the stop thing. And then I would need to answer, am I crazy? Are you crazy? No, and that's so basically, are you a criminal? Yes or no? Are you crazy? Yes or no? Are you a criminal? Yes or no? Are you being charged with something that is not in the system yet, where you haven't been convicted? Yes or no? You know what I mean? Those are the questions you're asked whenever you're buying a gun. Then they send it to your local sheriff or police department. They have a certain time to figure out whether that's true or not. Now, if they don't respond within a certain period of time, then you get your gun. Whether any of that's true or not, whether you've had it, because that's the loophole. You see what I'm saying? Now, does that make sense? Now, as a gun owner, as a person who owns a lot of guns, and I'm going to say this, I own a lot of guns. My wife is a professional shooter. My wife is a professional target pistol shooter. I own a lot of guns. But as a person who has a lot of guns, is around a lot of guns and everything, do I want somebody owning a gun that can't pass a background check? Absolutely freaking not. Absolutely not. And that's who would want that? Who would want somebody walking around that cannot pass a minimal background check? I mean, maybe if you're the kind of person that says, okay, yeah, I don't want the government to know anything about me at all, and you are the 1 in 100 person who's like super paranoid, you don't have anything wrong or whatever. But you know me, Richard, and you know how I think. If you don't want to take a background check, it's not because you don't like the government. It's because you can't pass it. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
And so anyway, so that's the thing about that. So, I look at it from that standpoint. If you took away some minor things, really minor things, it would make a big difference. It would make a really big difference. But we're not even willing to do that. You know what I mean? We're not willing to do that, and that's what it is. You have to, in certain states, you have to wait. I mean, I buy guns all the time. I mean, I have pistols in my house. Every time I go into the store, I have to account for the fact that I'm going to have to wait 5 days minimum to buy this new pistol. You know what I mean? So that's fine. I already have a pistol. Now, people will argue that, well, if you already have a pistol, why do I have to wait 5 more days for it? Because that's the way it is, dude. You know what I mean?
That's the way it works, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, at a certain point in time, if you don't like the American government that much, move to frickin' Panama or something. You know what I mean? Was I
Yeah.
shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to do this. I've never understood the whole I love my country, but I hate my government. So I'm just going to bitch about that all the frickin' time. You know what I mean? Get over yourself and follow the law.
But yeah, it depends on the government, doesn't it? If the guy they want in, greatest
Yeah,
government
I
on
mean
earth.
that's it. I mean, the government is always, because the only point of having government is to, uh, maintain order and distribute benefits.
Right.
That's the only point of the government. And from that standpoint, so um, it's other so sometimes we're going to have things that we don't agree with. You know what I mean? It's not like, okay, well, I don't agree with this, and that seems to be like what I mean, where we're going. Maybe we should. I mean, like I said, I don't know. Somebody said to me one time, well, what the Civil War was, I don't know if the Civil War was that. If the Civil War had it turned out the other way, I kind of wonder if America would be kind of a better place. It's an
Whoa,
interesting thing.
that's a hot take.
Well, no, like okay, you would say to yourself, eventually slavery would die, right?
Yeah.
Eventually it would have to. But would you? But is if this if I mean, look at the hot spots of where the division is. It seems to be driven along the Mason-Dixon line. Up until you get to Texas. And so at a certain point in time, uh, would it be better for those folks to have their own little theocracy where you can buy a machine gun, but you can't get an abortion, and all these different things like that, and they could have what they could come up with a constitution based on the Bible, the Ten Commandments or whatever. Fine.
Yeah.
Fine. I mean, that's not the way
Whatever
America.
makes it happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not the way America was set up, but that's the way they believe that America was set up. So set up your own country that way, based on whatever, and then let everybody else get to the other part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's. I mean, we're de facto coming down to that anyway, right? I always find it interesting. Somebody was asking me about it today, and I said, well, yeah, no, 9 people in the Supreme Court are going to make the decisions for Americans anymore. We didn't vote for them. That we are not being represented by anybody. If the Supreme Court, 9 people we didn't vote for, makes the decisions for 365 million people. And that's what it's come down to. How is that any different from King George III deciding what we do?
Well, it's not a representative republic anymore.
No.
It's a vast money-making empire.
Well, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. We that's not government. The legislative parts of our government have stopped governing. Because they can't do anything. So if we so basically they stop governing. So the people that have to govern are the Supreme Court, and so there you go. So then and then they wonder why people are upset about who's on the Supreme Court and who's not on the Supreme Court. But like I said, it's some nut job's going to figure that out too. That there's 9 people in America that are making that decision. And I think that's why, and that's why some of these justices have to have 24-hour protection around their house. So what happens if some nut group goes around to 5 of their houses murks their houses up, and then they get 5 new guys in there because like there's 51 people in the Senate instead of 49. That totally changes the way America's going to be for the next 100 years. I don't know. I mean, it seems like to me, since we're talking about nuts, it would be worth it. I mean, that's a it's an idea for a movie. Don't do it. Nobody do it. Yeah, don't do it.
Nobody attacked the United States Supreme Court. That's the decision.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying nobody actually do it. But it would be a great.
Like my thoughts trying to blow up Parliament, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, right. It's like, what was that movie? What was that movie that came out a couple years ago? It was like The Day something. It was supposed to be like that,
Yeah.
Where they blew up London or something.
I forget.
Yeah, it wasn't that popular apparently, but we could look it up someday. But that was the thing. It was like blowing up part. But I mean, if you look at it from that standpoint, it's Guy Fawkes on steroids. But not really, if you think about it, because Guy Fawkes, whenever they had planned to blow up, so the 5 members of the conspiracy run by Catesby, who were going to do it, they were going to blow up that was the royal aspect, the Parliament, the Lords, and the whatever the British thing of the Supreme Court is. I don't know what it's called. The High Court. So they were going to, yeah. So they were going to actually just take out all parts of the government. But what I'm saying is that, yeah. Anyway. That's kind of a rotten way to end it. I liked a lot of it, but I mean, I was sort of, Richard, I was upset about it this week because I just don't. I'm just, I just want every, I can see that in a lot of people's eyes that they have just seemed to have lost, the ability, like the shine. And it is interesting. And a lot of people are talking about, well, why, and what's interesting in America is anytime anything happens is they'll say, well, how do you think that this will affect the election in September? And then everybody has to lay odds on how this mass tragedy of this week and last week will affect. I mean, that's it. It's like, you're dealing in people's lives as a way to predict who's going to win the majority in an election. And that's the funny thing. And then everybody's like, okay, well, I don't think it's going to make a difference. We've had this one before and this one before. But then again, the Supreme Court's going to come out and say, okay, you can't have an abortion. So now you've got the two together where you're going to have, lack of gun control and no ability to have an abortion. Will that make a difference? It's like crazy. And I don't care how you feel about it, as far as any of these different things. But the fact that that's the way that it's portrayed to people as, okay, well, here's this. Here's, if it was an either or, it probably wouldn't make a difference. But because you're going to get a twofer, people might vote the other guy in. That's madness, man. Madness.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to talk about next week?
Good question. I have a bit of a think. I don't actually know. I assume at some point we'll finally get to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, like with Nikki. But yeah, she doesn't even have a decent reason not to be here this week. So
Well, do you well, no, aren't the jurors? Aren't aren't the jurors a deliberation about it? So now they won't be back until Tuesday because Monday is a holiday. So Memorial Day is on Monday. Thanks to all the people whose family members have given up a soldier for this country, and I appreciate that. But then they'll have Tuesday on from there, and so maybe they'll get it decided by next week. Anything big happening there?
I don't know.
No, what do you mean you don't know?
I don't know.
There's nothing big happening in Britain.
No, probably not.
Wait a minute. When is the 70th anniversary of the Queen coming?
Oh, who the fucking cares?
Oh, come on, brother.
Who actually gives a shit?
No, you can't say that. It's the Queen.
I can say that, and I stand behind it 100%. Who literally cares?
You cannot. I understand. I understand you don't care. Okay, but I will say this: it is going to be some kind of a talking point on EastEnders because they're trying.
They're already talking about it now. They're already going, oh well, we really like Camilla. She's great. I'm like, oh yeah, we all know they're going to be on the show. We all know.
What was that about? Camilla,
Prince Charles, and
no, I understand. You think so? You think so?
They are. Yeah. They've confirmed.
Oh my goodness! So I was like, Sonia, why are you talking about that? What? I have a lot to say about Camilla. I was like, what?
Yeah. I mean, we really want to suck up to her, despite the fact that she was partially responsible for the death of the only decent royal. I mean, you know what? Let's put all of that aside. The public affair, the embarrassment of all that. Lady Diana was a smoking hottie, okay? Fucking 8 out of 10. And Charles dumped her for that. Not even the wingman would go home with Camilla, all right?
Well, the thing about it is, do you think, I mean, there's a psychological thing there. I'm sure that from my standpoint, you have to do it. Anytime you watch the royal, I'm not going to, anyway, I've been around the royal family too, believe it or not.
We can talk about that next week. How much of a waste of everybody's time the royal family is.
Yeah, but anyway, but I'm just saying, you cannot think of anything with the royal family on down without a psychological aspect to it, because they seem to they don't. It's not that they don't want to think like us. It's that they're not allowed to think like us. You know what I mean?
They're incapable because we don't exist to them. We're just little plebs, and they're off there in the royal family.
I don't think that's true. I think that there's quite a lot of desire to be more human, but you cannot do it. You know what I mean? And I think what's interesting around it is that people don't treat them like people. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're ever around some of these folks, it's very unnerving to the point where, there's members of the royal family that you don't think are, they're called minor royals and things like that. And I've been around them because I've taken them to do different things and so forth. But it's utterly nerve-wracking to be around them because you're afraid that you're going to do something wrong. I'm just a guy from the village. I don't know standard protocol and procedure for dealing with the royal family. You know what I mean? I know the average thing is, I know that I'm going to say this first, and then after that, I refer to them as sir, as or ma'am. You know what I mean? That's what it is. You have to say their official title first whenever you're talking to them, and then after that, you can refer to them as sir or ma'am, which is actually the easiest part. And after that, but you know, if they're going to ask you for your opinion, then you're worried about, am I saying this right? Is this grammatically correct? You know, can they understand somebody from Northern Ireland? You know, and all that, you know, and so it's you know, it's a very, very hard thing. And then you hear some of the things about some of the stories of their lives or whatever, and it's brutally sort of hard, you know, like you know, Prince.
Oh yes, they didn't know what diamond necklace to wear, or they sprained their hand while cutting the red ribbon.
Like, you know, like, okay, so Prince Charles, when he was a kid, you know, they send him away to this like private school that's like you know, the school in ripping yarns, where they basically, you know, like make them pop around everywhere
with a school bully and everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what his childhood was like, you know.
Oh, poor child.
Yeah, and so I mean, that's the thing that's
you're never going to get sympathy out of me for those.
No. I'm not saying that he deserves it. You know what I'm saying? But you do, from their standpoint, they're going to say, "I've sacrificed my whole life for you." You know that they will say that.
Yeah, that's terrible living in your. I mean, one of them's a bloody sex pest and had the whole thing carried. It was that Edward or Andrew, I forget. And like, their evidence that he's fucking diddling underage girls, but whatever, he gets away with it because he's a royal. Fuck him, the idle scroungers.
Wow, you know.
I mean, all right, Elizabeth is all right as monarchs go. Like, she's been a decent queen, very nice. But you know, the rest of them, let's just get rid of them after she dies. Do we really need any more royal family?
Well, that's the interesting thing about it, because a lot of people will say, without Brexit, what does Britain have? The royal family is the major tourist attraction to Britain. So the fact that Buckingham Palace is there with royals in it is a big deal. And people think that, you know, exactly. And when seeing the crown jewels at the Tower of London is a big deal. And London depends on a lot of these different things. And so if they don't have it, and if it's that much of a hassle to go to Britain for some people, they just won't. I mean, they won't. I mean, you know, this is the thing. I clearly think, in my opinion, that this Brexit thing was a big, huge problem and a mistake. And I think that, you know, I wouldn't be surprised in 10 years if we're not part of the European Union again. Like we go back cap in hand and say, sorry, mate, we fucked this up. You know what I mean? Can we have our shit back? You know what I mean?
We should have left in the first bit. I voted to remain. So
yeah. But anyway, but I'm just saying, you know, from that standpoint, the royal family seems to be the thing. People love the bearskin hat. People love the red coat, you know, of the guards. People love seeing the guards' uniforms. People love seeing the horse guards. People love the changing of the guard. I mean, you know, like I'm saying, it's like that's what people like. Like the reason people go to Edinburgh is to see the 1 o'clock gun, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? And so some of these things are majorly wrapped up into royal pomp and you know, things like that. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that's sort of I don't know. I mean, you know, is that important or not? You know, I guess not. I mean, you know, it certainly hasn't hurt Ireland as far as that. Whenever the Republic of Ireland just sort of cut all things with that, you know, and sort of said, you know, we don't have a royal family, but they still, everything depends on seeing, you know, Dublin Castle and Tipperary Castle and all these different castles that, you know, used to be there when everybody was there. But, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. But that will wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite those as many. It's good night from me, and it's good night from Kevin. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Stay safe this
Good
week.
soups.